Another one of the big four system integrators is in the news, but for the wrong reasons. This is a Fortune 500 company called Zimmer Biomet that recently hired to Deloitte to implement SAP S/4HANA, and the original estimate was for $70 million, but the project quickly ballooned to close to $100 million, which is when the litigation started. So what happened here? Well, the company went live with SAP in July of 2024, and when they started to have problems, Deloitte reassured them that these are just normal hiccups. This is a normal part of the pain and the transition, but it turns out it was a lot more than that. At the time of go live and in the months that followed, the company's revenue dropped by 43%, largely because of the problems they had during their implementation. This is exactly the opposite of what most organizations expect when they implement new technology. Once the company announced these problems it was having with its implementation and the associated financial results, the company lost $2 billion in market capitalization, just a staggering number. And the reason they cited for this was because they had trouble with production planning and scheduling, they had trouble with order processing, fulfillment, warehouse management, invoicing, accounting, and finance. So in other words, it sounded like a complete disaster. And perhaps the most damning thing in this court filing was this quote: Deloitte's warehouse management team was particularly incompetent and designed, configured, and implemented a wholly defective warehouse management module that ruptured Zimmer Biomet's supply chain. Ouch. So you might think, well, maybe this is because Deloitte didn't know their business very well, but the thing is that's kind of buried in this article is that this company had been using Deloitte for 25 years. For 25 years, Deloitte had been providing consulting services to this organization. So you have to ask yourself, how in the world did Deloitte not better understand their own client that they've had for decades, not understand them well enough to know that A, there's a problem when it happens, but even before that, understand their business operations enough and their culture and what they're trying to accomplish with technology to know how to implement this better. I'd love to hear from you though. What do you think some of the root causes of this failure might be? But in the meantime, this is the whole reason that